Hello, everyone. Mira Kelly and Sharon Josef here. And we are beyond delighted to welcome you to this conversation with Emile Janse. Our goal here is for us to share his wisdom, his work, his passion for sound, and for the unique frequency of the voice and how that connects us to the soul's truth and to empowerment and healing. And so, Emile, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Mira.
Welcome, Emile. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here with you. Thank you for doing this interview.
Welcome.
You're somebody who has done so much with sound. You have been a sound healer all your life, and I have to tell you, I really loved how you define sound healing. So I would love for us to start there. What is sound healing for you? How did you fall in love with sound? How did it become such an important part of your life?
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate being here to share more about these things. And sound healing, for me, it's something which connects us to the truest part of ourselves when we're using our voice, when we're connected to ourselves. And I'm just going to focus in a little more on this here. It's something which supports the truest part of ourselves showing up in the world. Sound healing, there's a lot of different kinds. That's one thing to acknowledge first off. But the benefits are, as much as it helps one be connected to what is the most true for them, whether it's through listening to beautiful sounds which relax the nervous system very deeply and allow us to hear, the whisper of our own intuition, our own connection, or if it's the using of our voice to experience the unique energies that comes through us, which are specific to who we are in the world. And above all, I find sound healing is such a supportive thing for connecting me to who I am in the world and supporting others and connecting to who they are in the world.
This is really beautiful. And I have to tell you, I really love how you're playing with breath here, how you're taking the space and the moment to just breathe and feel into it. How would you speak about the connection between breath and sound healing?
And breath, as it relates to the voice and expression or connection, it's very supportive of that pause to really listen for what's true. And a lot of the times in this world, people are moving really, really fast, much faster than is usually beneficial to hear what is actually true for them. And that's not to say that moving fast is always not helpful. That's not true at all. That would be a gross overgeneralization. But breathing invites that pause, and then breathing deeply kind of invites a sort of embodiment and internal awareness, which supports people, just about anyone, in connecting with what is the most true in a given moment.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Absolutely. it's so important that we do allow ourselves to really feel into ourselves and get centered before we do anything, decide anything, go forward with anything. I totally agree with what you're saying. Makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, and I hope people in this fast world, like you said, I hope people can take the time and really just feel into it like you're doing. That's the gift, definitely.
Talking about this makes me want to ask you, how is your unique voice connected to your soul's truth, or my unique voice connected to my truth?
Mm-hmm. So, there's a couple of ways to approach that thought or that question. One is the very like technical physics standpoint, which is nice to kind of be with for a moment. Our voice is kind of like an energetic fingerprint. You know, it's completely distinct for each person. But to expand on that, our voices change distinctly throughout our lives. So on the one hand, the sounds of our voice, it's a set of frequencies. It's not just one tone, one sound. It involves all of the harmonics or overtones, which create the full structure, the energetic signature of our voice, which then creates the tone, which means you can distinct my voice from your voice, from Sharon's voice, and have that be known because you can feel it, you can hear it. The frequencies that we're hearing tell a lot too. Voice is very vulnerable because there's not just, on the one hand, there's a coded expression of who we are that is being picked up on by people that are listening. But also there's a level of coding of all of our experiences that, again, it's happening kind of like on an unconscious, subconscious level, but you're immediately telling someone a lot about yourself, more so in the sounds of your voice than in many ways the actual words we're using. And as we drop deeper into our truth, our voice changes. Different frequencies start to fill out more. It's part of the essence of becoming more embodied. Your voice feels more embodied. And that supports the expression of more of our truth in the world and allows the world to hear that we're more connected to our truth as well.
Yeah. I totally agree with you on so many levels. You know, I think it was Jane Fonda that said many years ago that a woman comes into herself when her voice lowers. And there's something very true about it. But from my standpoint, and not to make it about me, because it's about you right now, that when I talk to people, I talk to them by phone. And Mira, maybe you do the same.
Yeah.
I get all their frequencies, all their whole matrix of energies, frequencies, and the whole stories from other lives, from this experience, from childhood, from everywhere, from the voice. So I think it's really, there's a lot there to talk about and to explore. Yeah, thank you.
Emile, as I was diving into your work, what fascinated me is how I got the perception that you see voice as a tool, as something that can be moved and molded and used with confidence, with passion. And it struck me that I never think of my voice as a tool. I always think of my voice as is, granted, given, something that I use but never pay much attention to. I'm used to using my mind as a tool, my fingers and my hands as a tool, but never my voice. So it was quite a revelation, probably, a beginner's revelation, but still quite a striking thought to me. And I wonder, where would you take me next on my adventure in using my voice? What would be your next suggestion on what do I do with my voice, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that question. And yeah, and that acknowledgement too of all the information we're picking up through the voice.
Mm.
One of the first places I start with a lot of individuals or groups that I've worked with is the recognition of the somatic feeling of the voice, you could say. Having people notice that their voice is not just something they hear, but something they feel on the inside and in your energetic field. And it's actually a pretty simple attention shift, because that's really all it is, an attention shift. It's already happening, but the focus of voice as something that's felt inside the body, especially in the like chest and throat area, but in lots of places too, in the head. Once that's acknowledged, it's there's a lot that can be played with just from there, and a lot of intuitive ways that we can further feel to play with that energy now as we notice it within our body coming through our voice. And the voice is a tool. Yeah, I definitely refer to it in that way a lot. A tool for communication, for expansion, and I think it's a beneficial tool insofar as it's expressing authentic things about us, that it's really like, because I also think that sometimes voice is used in a little bit of a manipulative way. People have found out like certain speech patterns and tonal formulas to basically convince people to do things that they might not actually do if they were not being somewhat manipulated or convinced. So there's an awareness around that that's important. That's a tool that really needs to be used for truth of expression foremost.
Yeah, that's important. It's a really important point to bring up. And can you think of maybe, I know you work with people and you help them in various ways. Maybe some sort of one of your clients that you could talk about some kind of a healing or how it helped them overcome anything. Can you think of an example?
Yeah, I mean, it's less in the specifics and more what I see very consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And the consistent things people express back to me are very much around ease and comfort in expression and not inhibiting themselves in a moment. And that's because the focus is around seeing what's present for you individually and letting your intuition guide you to the sounds which move the energies for that in the most ideal way for you right now, while you're connected to your own guidance, your own connection to God or divinity. And that, of course, is completely different. Not, I don't know if completely different for everyone isn't the right word, but it's specifically different for different people in their own subtle ways. And individuals get better at following their own intuitions, their own inspirations in a moment without thinking, oh, this is wrong, this is weird, this is off, I shouldn't express. So that kind of brings me to actually one thing people come up against very quickly, and I bring up very early on, is the very deeply culturally embedded stories of you shouldn't use your voice or you shouldn't express, and how almost everyone has heard that from family, friends, people close to them at some point during their life, if not for the majority of their life. and just acknowledging that when one starts to use their voice more freely, they literally hear, the voices of all the people who told them during their lives, like, you shouldn't do that. And then acknowledging that really that's silly. That's actually just the expression of those people who feel they can't express, or were told by other people in the past they shouldn't express, and we're here like breaking that right now. So I guess one of the things is to say then is that people hear that and then they realize, like, I don't need to listen to that, and there's a continuous unwinding process.
Wow, that's so interesting and important, because I feel like it's also healing some ancestral stuff.
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very important for the identity of a person, right? Because I feel like most of us have no clue about our real identity until such time as we connect to our intuition and to our voice. And I, for one, need these lessons that you give to be out there with my voice, Yeah, absolutely.
I wanna bring another angle into our conversation. Your love for and fascination for overtone singing and deep throat singing, how it all started with being curious about death and near-death experiences, and then discovering Mongolian Humi singing. All of that is so fascinating to me, especially because I too have seen the videos of Mongolian people deep throat singing and been absolutely mesmerized and enchanted. Please take us into that world. How did it all unfold for you?
Yeah, well, it started very much in the place you just named, and I'm really glad that you checked that out and read that story that I've put up, because I was reading about near-death experiences. I have a fascination with death and that's actually something I'm intending to work more directly with people going through the death process at some point, kind of moving into that now. And a woman stated, I think it was actually the author of the book I read, that in one of her near-death experiences, she had heard sounds that were so beautiful she could only compare them to the Humi singing of the Mongolians. And when I looked that up, I was just a little bit astounded. I was like, kind of, speechless. I had never heard anything like that. And another thing that was interesting too is when I watched that first video, which I have on my website still, that was literally the first video I ever saw of it. It took a moment to even notice what that Mongolian man was doing, to even hear that high whistle trill sound that he was producing, in addition to the droning of the voice. And later, it got me thinking, and it brought my awareness to the fact that there are sounds that are there that, if we're not accustomed to hearing them, we won't even realize they're there. And through my journey of doing overtone singing, I've noticed that to be consistently true, particularly with Western ears who are not used to hearing these overtones. It's like hard to even distinguish them as a thing that's happening sometimes. So I got so intrigued by that. And there was a year or two that went before I actually tried starting to do it, and was having some success going for long walks in the woods, practicing on my own, where no one would be giving me very odd looks. A couple of years of that. And eventually I went to the sound school that was in San Francisco. Now it's in Marin Globe Institute, which David Gibson runs. A lot of amazing teachers share there. And I was able to share this practice a bit more there. And let's see, why was I bringing that up again? Because there we would do a lot of toning. And I had a few experiences with toning on my own or in groups before that had been really amazing. And my, partly through that, but already beforehand, my just general uh, inspiration for how, or fascination with how much the voice itself could do and how much you could feel through the voice by working with it in an unstructured way, or relatively unstructured way, a very feeling based way. And so my first, the overtone singing and the throat singing was like, okay, there's things that the voice can do that I really had no idea. I didn't know that I didn't know that. and then once I knew there was a lot more, then working with the voice in an open-ended way expanded it to another level. And now I still love to teach about overtone singing and throat singing, and I'm a great teacher of it, but my passion and desire is much more in guiding people with the voice intuitively. And since then, another beautiful thing is I love hearing people's voices, come through intuitively. There's sounds I've heard people make that again I never knew existed and are completely unique to those individuals. And I feel like I'm speaking to people who've probably heard that at times, you too, and maybe anyone who's watching this, who've had that experience of hearing like some people's really unique voices, being like, wow, like that's a connection to the essence of that person's truth. That's pretty incredible, whether they're singing or not. So that's kind of a beginning with that. I led a few workshops in San Francisco some years ago that just continued to emphasize that. Like, I introduced some ideas for how people could use their voice intuitively and just had incredible results.
When you speak about intuitive singing, and I'm so happy that you mentioned that this is where your passion is leading you now, because I was thinking of asking you, where is your joy and adventure in sound now? So when you speak about intuitive singing and using the voice in an intuitive way, do you mean what people talk about in terms of light language, or do you mean something very different?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good question. Light language encompasses that. I was very skeptical of light language for a long time, but now I firmly believe it is like a powerful thing. I've felt a lot of energy through it myself and experienced other people doing it in ways where I was like, it's pretty amazing. I can feel amazing things happening. And yeah, it is a style of kind of intuitive vocal channeling. But it's also so much more than that. So when I work with people, there's this fine balance between giving them suggestions or ideas of what to try, but also helping them, supporting them in finding what wants to come uniquely through them, which I can't demonstrate for them because it's them, it's not me. And that is a beautiful balance, which, so there's ideas of like long continuous vowel sounds is how I generally define toning. And I think long continuous vowel sounds toning is a great way to connect to the felt sense of sound in the body and kind of be able to intentionally move it around with volume, pitch, or vowel articulation. And really easy. It's accessible to just about everyone. But there's also people who can play with more percussive sounds or non-tonal sounds, things that are faster, longer. Yeah, and sometimes there's like this following like energetic threads through the voice that might like slowly shifting sounds which lead to places they wouldn't expect. So there's also this element of non-judgmentalism that has to come in, which again is around coming to your unique expression, is not thinking about if what's coming through is right or wrong. It's just the truth of what's most powerful or beneficial for you in that moment.
I feel like this really is so fascinating. And I feel like all of this that we have been speaking about really is a very self-contained universe. Can we use everything that you speak of so that we direct all of that energy, all of that experience of sound healing of the self towards another?
You can. You can do it like as a if someone's a massage or energy healer practitioner, you can do it in person. Because sound also like amplifies your energy field. Uh, I think it should be done in a way that feels like the energy should, regardless, the energy should not be forced like in a certain direction using sound. So it's yeah, you can, but I personally, I think this is most ideal. I always start with the question of like, what is the most ideal way for me to direct this energy? Uh, like you could come in with a prayer about someone or something, and then maybe ask what is the most ideal sound to use to support this prayer or this healing that we're experiencing. But to always have that space. And if you want to ask more clarification around that, I can. But I think I know it too. It's a little bit different than how most people would answer that question, and I have some strong feelings about allowing energy to come through as is guided, as opposed to how we think should be used. So when I start to tread close to some of those things, I'm a little bit like, how far do we want to go in this direction?
I totally agree. Sorry, I totally agree with you that we should not force anything. It should be an organic and natural process. Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I would also add that I used to tone. I was in a toning circle a few years ago, and first of all, I found that it got filled up with non-physical beings that love to tone with us from different places and parts. So I'm sure you've experienced that, which was really awesome. And also I find that it's really strong to manifest and to bring down things with toning. I know you probably know a lot more. I was just experiencing it in this circle. It really helped people do a lot of stuff in their life, which is amazing. Just by toning different, we weren't told what to tone. It was like free range, like you were saying. It was just organic. And I really love it. So I need to get back into it. Yeah. Would you be up to sharing a little bit of any kind of demonstration? Are you up for it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, sounds good. So I'll share a bit of the deep throat singing first, and then a little bit of overtone singing. I start with the deep throat singing. It's a little bit more different, and hearing it after the overtone singing is sometimes a bit jarring and confusing to people. And my deep throat singing is good, but it's very good, but significantly less articulated than my overtone singing is. And I use both of these sounds. So when I'm working with people, I also want to say that I'm doing intuitive sounds as well to help activate and support the energy in the space. And sometimes I'm doing throat singing and overtone singing at certain moments to bring in or help things clear out for individuals. So in terms of working with people, it can still be very much a part of how I'm supporting a space. So this is Kargara, as it's most often called, the deep throat singing. and it was usually done in Siberia. It usually is done as it's a connection or acknowledgement of the mountains or the steppe. It also is similar in practice to the Tibetan, certain kinds of Tibetan chant. That's good for now. Okay, and now I'll do a bit of overtone singing, and one thing is that the overtone singing I do is more of what's called a Western style. The Siberians and Mongolians do it in a slightly different way, where they engage more throat muscles. For this style, I engage more nasal muscles, or nasal tonality. Yeah, I can get more into that later. But here we go.
Wow. That blows my mind. It's amazing.
Truly
Oh my
amazing.
gosh.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Wow.
I want to ask a question, if we can leave our audience with something simple that you can guide them and give them direction to do, because everything you've shared is fascinating, and seeing the sample and hearing the sample of what you just did for us is incredible. So let's inspire people so that as soon as we're done, they can do something of their own.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So a simple exercise that's great to experience very tangibly the feeling of sound in the body is to work with the articulation of 3 different vowels. And those vowels are O, Ah, and E. The tonality of O is probably the least distinctly felt, but it's most often down in the belly. You can feel it in a very low spot. The sound Ah is very much in the chest, so you can put your attention there, and even I often encourage people to put their hands there, because then you can feel your chest vibrating. It creates this kind of biofeedback loop that encourages that reminder or knowing of sound being something vibrating inside us. So O is in the belly, Ah is in the chest, and E resonates very much in the head, say in the brain. And yeah, that's just another one that's very distinct and clear to feel. Now, that doesn't mean that's the only place that one will feel those sounds, but that's usually the spatial physical center that will be most distinct. And especially with the sound like ah, it feels like such a heart sound. There's so many, even though I don't often go into talking about sound in that way, because also I think this is important to share. Again, sounds activate different people in different ways. So I really am not a supporter of any specific systems of like, do these sounds and this will happen. It's like, because it really, people are all impacted differently. If we get caught up too much in specific systems, we miss the things that are really meant for us. So these sounds, though, what I like to do is have people go O, ah, E, ah, O, and feel that sense of the energy kind of coming up and then back down. And could do this. Yeah, we can do this together. And what I often do. Do you both have microphones?
I do. I do.
Yes,
That
I don't
okay?
have an external one.
Okay,
I wasn't
so
prepared.
yeah, that's fine. If we do this quietly, or if we do this
I'll mute
quietly, we
myself.
can all be in the audio,
Yeah.
or
I'll
you
mute
could
myself.
you
Yeah.
could yeah, you can
Yeah,
both
me too.
mute and then just do it in your own space, which is actually a really amazing thing I found about working online, is the ability to work with groups and have everyone be doing things in their own space. Okay, so taking a few breaths and just, if you're watching this or here now, placing your attention a little more inside your body. We're going to do, starting with O. And we'll just do one breath for each one. If you're doing this on your own, there's the option to do 3 breaths for each one as well. It's really great. You can kind of focus in on the center more sometimes that way. But right now we're just going to do 1. So 5 sounds all together. Take another moment to settle in. Acknowledging that sound is something felt inside your body. And when we get to ah, we'll put our hands on our chest too, so you can feel that. Okay, and start with an exhale. Get as empty as possible. And inhale, and when you get to the top of your breath, do a long O at any pitch. Good. Just settle where you are. Take one breath in between. And then coming to ah, you can put your hand in the middle or upper part of your chest. Inhale to ah. Good. Relaxing. Putting your attention in your head, behind your eyes or your nasal passage. Inhale to E. And keep exhaling. Exhale, 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 and inhale to ah, coming back down, attention in the chest. Good. Continuing your exhale. When you're ready, inhaling to O. Oh. pausing, breathing easy, noticing whatever might be present, knowing that there's nothing specific you have to or have to not feel. Good. Thank you for participating.
Thank you. I felt like my whole body, the whole energy field opened up throughout my body. It was awesome. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I very much, thank you, Emile. I very much feel my third eye chakra open and very activated. So I'm excited to see what I feel moved to do with that energy after our call. I wonder, Emile, if there's anything you want to leave us with, any words of inspiration, wisdom, encouragement, anything that you feel like sharing with us.
And I would also add to please share how people can get in touch with you. We will add it probably, but also with that, yes. Thank you.
Totally. So I'll start with that my website is opentothesource.com. Generally it can be found on Google. And yeah, I'm so happy to receive emails from people that are interested, and I do a free 20-minute consult for people that are interested in anything that I'm involved with, one-on-ones or groups. And on my website, people can sign up for my email list. I also have a YouTube channel that's slowly developing more, and you can find that through my name. The main thing that I want to leave people with is just the knowing that one's own truth is valuable. It's important, it's valuable, it's completely unique to you. So there's no one else that can share it. There's no one else that can be it. And yeah, just to trust yourself, trust oneself in what is true to you. And thank you very much for this interview. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing
so much. Yeah, such wise advice. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And thank you also for being with us and sharing sound and healing and soul truth. And thank you for the generosity of guiding us through this experience. I know I will be personally coming back to it over and over. And I look forward to so much more diving into sound with your guidance and with your recordings. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Emile. Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mira.